Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's meditation session. Each week, we sit here together. No matter where you are at this moment, the mind is together to explore the inner world, to understand ourselves a little more. In this chaotic world, so today, as usual, let's stay here to examine the nature of the mind and how the mind works. And this whole journey is meditation. Before we really start today's session, let's stay here to keep silent for about 3 or 4 minutes, during which you can meditate by focusing on the breath or any other sensation, or simply reflect how many moments of the day we are not present. And then let's come back for the exploration. Today, let's look at fear together to explore fear. Fear is a very big part of the life, is it? To some extent, fear has become the fundamental drive for a lot of things to happen in the life. Has it? In the life, there are so many different forms of fear. Anxiety, worry, anger, you name it. Many of your life decisions has been probably based on some different forms of fear. And those decisions are made in the hope of getting rid of the fear, right? To feel reassured, to feel safe, to feel certain. In other words, we can say that the life is a constant battle with fear and me. Isn't it? Have we ever directly looked at fear without escaping, running away from it, or interpreting, justifying, or contaminate? Can we just look at fear as it is in your life now? That's why today, let's explore this together. How to look at fear. This is the first step we must be clear about. How can we look at fear without reactions towards the word fear? There must be a tremor in that word, right? When you hear the word fear, you might have some reaction to it, which might arise from your past experience about fear. Can we look at fear without these interferences? Because the past experience, the reaction to a thought, and so on, they all belong to the past, right? But now, let's look at the fear, which means that can we look at fear without the interference from the past? That's a very important and a very essential step before we going on this exploration, to look at it. Look at the mind, look at yourself without the past. You may have noticed that People have such a strong tendency to see life through the past. Because no matter in which society you are living in, the society is based on the past, right? Each culture, each society is so proud of the past. So this kind of mental action or tendency is so deep-rooted. And the past forms each of the self, the ego, right? We have to deeply feel this habit of looking through the past. A very terrible habit, to be honest. It's probably more terrible than smoking or drinking, which are only minor issues compared to these grand issues of life. Let's look at it. Look at the fear. Right now, with a fresh eye. Nothing to do with the past. Nothing to hide. Nothing to justify. Nothing to judge. Just look at it. This step is the first step of the meditation. Look. And this is also the last step of the meditation. What is fear? Mind you, we are looking at fear, not about what you are afraid of. That's a very different thing. And that's the content of thoughts, the reaction towards thoughts. But here, let's look at fear, not what you are afraid of. One has to be subtle in differentiating these two very different states. We look at the mental action, fear, not the objects, the things you are afraid of, the things I'm afraid of. We talk about the mental actions. Why do we fear? Of course, there are different types of fear, right? The physical fear, so to speak, like when you see a danger like a tiger, which want to, a very hungry tiger who wants to eat you. And this danger in the jungle. But there are also a different fear, which is we are talking about now, the psychological fear in all kinds of forms, as we just said before, right? Anxiety, worry, whatever. And we are exploring the psychological fear because through the understanding of the psychological fear, we can also understand what is physical fear. But the other way around doesn't work. You can't simply understand the physical fear to understand the psychological one. Why? Because in physical fear, you have the action immediately. But in the psychological fear, the thoughts you are holding on to blocks you from doing anything. Blocks you from doing anything. Let's expand this little by little in the session. Everybody knows what is fear, right? This kind of turbulence arising from the fear. Fear of losing something. Fear being criticized. Fear of being denied. Fear of being overtaken by others. There are so many subtle forms of fear in life. The question is, how many types of fear are there? The fear of losing a job is different from the fear of being overtaken by others. Oh, they are the same. If it is the same, then we can see there's only one fear, right? Showing in different forms, in different objects, but it's fear. It's just fear. How does fear arise? Here, let's just give an example. At this moment, for example, one is afraid of losing a job because the coronavirus sounds quite true, but here it's just an example. So at this moment, the fear of losing a job controls one. So all kinds of things follows. Oh, if the job is lost, how can I pay the rent? How can I afford expense to going abroad for a holiday? And how can I enjoy wonderful meals in the restaurant? And how can I survive? There are so many different things about fear when the fear is dominating one's life. But at this moment, this guy, is still having the job. He's still having it. That's the fact. At this moment, it's a fact. But he's afraid of losing the job. Losing a job is a scenario in the mind, right? It's a sin in the mind. It's a mental image you can speak, whatever we call it. So that person reacts to a mental image of he's losing the job. Then the fear starts. Does this apply to your life situations? I don't mean this example exactly, but this kind of reaction to the thoughts of something has not happened yet, but make you fear. The mental image of losing a job leads to the reaction to that thoughts, which is the fear, as opposed to the fact that the job is not lost yet. People may say, yeah, because the virus, the economy is so bad, and a lot of companies will cut down the business. So it is fair to think in that way that the job will be lost. But the thing is that at this moment, the job is not lost yet. Probably this kind of analysis is reasonable, right? In this very special time of the life. But it has not happened yet. We involve time to predict the future, right? But everything in the head is a mental image. About the future, about the past. It sounds quite true, quite reasonable, but it's still within the mind, within the domain of thoughts. At this moment, one is perfect, in perfect condition. Nothing is lost. The job is still there. But the thoughts about all scenario, from the coronavirus, from losing a job, just appear in the mind, which makes with the realities. And the direction is there. The reaction is the fear. Probably one day, maybe in 2 or 3 months, he is unfortunate to lose the job. Indeed, because the virus. Then what? It happens. The fear is additional, is it? If there's no fear, probably he still lose the job. But from now until he lose the job, and he keeps fearing during this time. This is purely additional because the result is the same, that he loses the job, but the fear is additional. This addition is necessary. So here, when he really loses the job, he will look for new jobs. For example, take actions. But thinking about losing a job, for example, it's a different thing. It's a thought. And that leads to the reaction to the thoughts, which is fear. When he really loses the job in 2 or 3 months, he won't fear because it happens. That's a hard fact. The job is lost. But if the job is lost, it's only in the head as a thought. That very reaction leads to the fear. It can be anxious. It can be worried. Right? So, this example is complete. What we can get is a fun example. How does fear arise? Doesn't it arise from thoughts? So, thoughts breed fear. Can we see that? If thoughts breed fear, what shall we do about fear? So, to handle fear, we need to understand thoughts, to understand the total structure of thoughts. Then probably there's a solution waiting for us to understand fear, to live with it. Not to run away from that or escape from that or just transform it or justifying it. Let's just live with it. When we understand the whole structure of thoughts. But here, before we continue the exploration how to overcome fear, let's meditate now for 10 minutes to stay silent, to let neurons slow down. During this meditation, try our best to focus on the breath. Stop also thinking. And then let's come back to the session. Now, let's take a 10-minute meditation. Start by taking a moment to find a comfortable position to sit in a posture that you feel relaxed and get alert. Let hands rest on your knees or laps. Let the eyes close gently. Soften your forehead. Act a soft smile in the corner of your lips. Breathe naturally. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. Feel the sensation of breathing in. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. As you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. Feel the sensation of breathing out. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. Fix your attention on the breath. Let go of any thought, words, images. This moment, nothing is more important than breath. While you are listening to the bell, check where your attention is. If it wasn't on the breath, after the bell, gently invite your attention back to the breath and sustain your attention on the breath. Slowly bring your awareness back to this room. Feel into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you are ready, open your eyes. So, I hope the past 10 minutes has brought you some peace, pacified neurons, and make you feel relaxed. How to overcome the fear? This seems to be a question bothered by so many people. At the beginning of the session, we said, let's look at the mind together. But who is looking at the mind? Who is looking at the fear? What is the identity? What is the entity of looking at the fear? Is something dead looking at the fear, or is something alive to look at the fear? You, I'm looking at the fear. Who am I? Who is the self? Isn't it a bunch of thoughts, labels, mental images, which all belong to the past? Right? If it's the self, me, is looking at the mind, the fear is right now, right? It's happening in the mind at this moment. But the me is an old entity, right? It's a past. If the me is looking at the fear, which means that the fear is still be analyzed through the past, is it? At the beginning of the session, we discussed how to look without through the past. How to look without through the past. But now, when the self's there, the me is there, looking at the fear, it's still through the prism of the past. The observer is you. The observed is fear. All kinds of experiences about fear you have gone through. But let's look at the mind together. is there any difference between the observer, you, and the observed, fear? Fear is the reaction to thoughts. And the observer is also bound with thoughts and reactions, like dislike, hate, whatever. Are there any difference between these two entities? Because people want to overcome the fear, want to get rid of fear. It's not that fear is something external we can get rid of. It seems that we have this common assumption that we can control the fear, we can control the body, we can control the mind. But who is controller? Is there any difference between the controller and the controlled? Answer yourself. Don't answer me. Just answer yourself. If the observer is the observed, you are the fear, are you? If you are the fear, then we can do nothing about it. Right? When you are in fear, the fear isolates you. The fear totally controls the mind. All kinds of reactions, anxiety, turbulence around the center, which is called the self. If you can deeply realize that the fear can't separate from you, in that very, very understanding, which requires your observance, your meditation, your intelligence to get it, then the fear comes to an end. Because you are the fear. Fear is you. What are you going to do about it, about the fear? Nothing can be done, right? Unless you change yourself totally. You can't do anything about the fear. You can't get rid of it. You can't control it. You can't modify it because the fear is in you. It's not something external at all. When you realize this, which means that you feel the urgency to change yourself totally, to free yourself from all kinds of chaos of this world, which means that you are eager to understand the self clearly. In that very understanding, there's a change you can't refuse. That very understanding is meditation. To change the mind totally, to change the way the neuron paths of the mind totally. Or else, the fear is part of you. This change is not permanent. It's not, oh yeah, I changed to this person now, and from now on, I'm a person no longer free, no longer bothered by the fear. It's another mental illusion. It's not a mental image, is it? The change comes when you are living life moment by moment, when you understand how the mind works, when you understand the whole structure of thoughts, the whole structure of the fear. And you observe yourself, the mind, at each minute. Because the truth is only at the present. We can't theorize the truth. We can't put the truth in words, which become the past immediately. Truth is always at the present, this moment. And live a life. Yeah, and you can also live a life at the present, moment by moment, which means that if you live life with the truth, peacefully, where's the place for fear? So that's the old content for today's session. So we have still a few minutes left. And if you have anything to say or speak, you can just simply leave a message in the chat or just scan the QR code on the screen. So you can speak by sharing your audio and video into the stream. If some of us have some questions or want to broach something to discuss, maybe you can try this new method. Just scan this QR code and open it either on your mobile phone or computer. So your camera and the audio will appear also on the YouTube. There, there. Wait a moment. Yes, please. Hey, Joyce. Okay, what is your question? If you said that during the meditation you feel you have a lot of distraction, right, during this meditation and want to overcome it. Well, be with it. Can you be with it? Don't seek a solution. Just be with it. Because during the meditation session, we observe the mind. We observe what is going on. If you were going through some distractions, observe it, notice it, but don't refuse it. Just come back to the breath, time and time again. Be with it, because now you think that, oh, I have wanted overload in the meditation. In that very thinking, you make this situation a problem, because you feel discontent and you feel discontented with it. That's why you want to overcome it. But this mental action to overcome, to seek a solution, which is from your discontent with the present, cause a new issue. So can you be with it? Just be open to anything that happens to you at each minute. Also, in the meditation, it's the same. Be open to each moment. Then, if you don't mind it, nothing is an issue. But if you really care about it, everything can be an issue as well. I hope this answer has partially answered your question.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, Ivan. Thank you for being here tonight for the past hour to explore the mind, to understand the truth, which is only at each minute. And that's all for today's session. I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and hopefully we can see each other in the future sessions. Take care. Bye-bye.